Post the 1990s, when the whole new economic policy started and globalization started, and the hydropower projects, the whole irony of hydropower projects is that they are supposed to be considered as clean energy. So it is supposed to be green and clean energy, because the source of the power is renewable compared to coal, which is more harmful, they say. But the thing is, even the hydropower projects have a very large ecological footprint. In If you look at the amount of construction they involve, whether it is the surface construction or underground construction. So post 1990s, the kind of hydro projects that have been built in the Himalayas and in Himachal, they are different from the other dams. Earlier it was reservoir based dams. Then this new technology came about, which is called run of the river technology, in which the tunnels are built through the mountain, and these tunnels are built to carry the to increase the flow of the water, so that and then a dam is built downstream. So what you're doing is you dam a river, you would take it underground through the tunnel, and then you bring it back on the riverbed lower down. Then you build another dam, then you take it down again through a tunnel, then bring it back to the riverbed. So you have a cascade of bumper to bumper projects. So, like for instance, on the Satluj river, you have the Bhakra dam, then above the Bhakra dam you have the Coal dam, then above the Coal dam you have another project which is being planned, and then you have another project, and you've reached from the lower Himalayas, lesser Himalayas, Shivaliks that I mentioned before, you reached right up to the greater Himalayas through these in the entire river basin. This cascade of dams has not just appropriated the flow of the river and finished the river, but also because almost 72% of the river is going to be flowing in tunnels. If I'm talking about the Satluj river, if all the projects that are planned on it, more than 150, are built, so on all the tributaries and streams and the main Satluj river itself, plus 20% of the river will be behind the dams. So this development is not just harming the river, it is also it also causes a lot of deforestation. So if you just look at the amount of forests that have been diverted, forest lands that have been diverted for these projects, you'll see that from the 12,000 to 15,000 hectares of forest that have been diverted for many of these projects since 1980, almost 70% is for transmission line and hydropower projects. So most of the diversion is taking place for this activity. And it is what kind of project, what kind of forests are going, the most endangered kind, like there's a district called Kinnaur, where the Satluj flows, which is in the upper Himalayas. There you have a tree called the Chilgoza pine, which is gives nuts called the Nyoza, and the Nyoza pine nuts are very rare, and these are collected from the wild, and people sell them at more than 1,000 rupees a kg. It's a very important source of livelihood, plus also nutrition for the local community. These forests are not easy to grow. They only they these trees grow more in the wild, and the forest department has tried to grow them. They have not been successful. But most of the chilgoza trees that have been cut in the last few years have been cut for hydropower projects. So this is just one example that I'm giving you about how what kind of deforestation is taking place. But the most problematic thing with the hydro projects is, and the issue that has affected people the most is the tunneling activity, which is done through blasting, basically dynamiting through the mountain. So you're hollowing the entire mountain, which is so geologically already unstable, but and therefore increasing the geological uncertainty. Which is why in a place like Kinnaur, you had so many landslides this season. And you can see some of these landslides got national, international attention because some tourists died in one of the landslide, and a whole bus full of 30 people was also crushed in one of the landslides. So what happens is that once you have a tunnel going through a particular area, that area becomes weak, and then you can have slope failures, you'll have cracks in houses, you'll have this underground water springs, they are also disappearing slowly, the discharge is reducing. So there are various issues as far as fragility is concerned with these safety of the area. So they are located, these projects are being located in, if you look at even the map of Himachal and you see where the projects are being located, you'll see there's a red strip, of the most vulnerable. The state disaster management authority has identified that the almost 90% of the state is disaster prone, but there is one strip which is highly disaster prone, and that is the strip where all these projects are also being located. All these hydropower projects are being located. So there's a question of triggering disasters, and also these projects themselves are becoming vulnerable to disasters, as you saw in Uttarakhand, as we saw in the Kedarnath tragedy that took place in 2013, where all these projects got damaged, all the dams got damaged. And when the tunneling takes place, there's a lot of muck which is generated, debris from underground. All that debris is just put along the riverside, and when the monsoon comes, this entire debris is carried downstream, and it takes the form of a flood. So even if the river, this is a normal monsoon flood that is happening, it is turned into a dangerous flood because of the kind of siltation that takes place, because of this all this debris that is collected. And this is happening not just because of hydro projects, even the road widening work is leading to a lot of excavation, and all the debris is put on the hillsides, which then goes with the river. So this entire kind of current model of development, and then at the same time the government is pushing tourism, large scale tourism. It's saying it wants these roads for tourism, commercial tourism. It wants airports for commercial tourism, but that is threatening the ecology. So on one hand, you have people who have their livelihoods, like Kinnaur is the apple belt, of Himachal Pradesh. This is where all the best apple for the country is coming from. It's getting exported, but because of these projects and the landslides, the roads are blocked, so the people are not being able to market their apple also, so they are cut off from the market. So first they were, moved from subsistence to cash crops because of this modernization, and now they're on the cash crops, they're dependent on the market, they've lost their old autonomy in the the way they used to produce before. Now they are cash dependent, they need to send their children out for education, etc. But now the roads are blocked because of these landslides, because of this kind of development. So there's some kind of rethink that needs to be done about what is it that we are aiming for. There doesn't seem to be even any planning about it. If we want more tourists to come to the hills and mountains, because you see that as a revenue opportunity, do are they coming to see, are they coming to die in the hazards, are they coming to see dams, or are they coming to see the beauty? If you can't even click one picture without a transmission line in the frame, then what is the point of coming to the mountains? Why would anyone come, if there are landslides, if there are floods all the time, if there is no guarantee of your life? So somewhere the government needs to choose and plan, and this kind of mindless, unplanned, unregulated, because if you look at all these dams, it's not like we don't have laws, environmental laws or forest conservation laws. Like I said before, these laws are there, but they are applied more for the local people. But when it comes to these dams and the companies that are constructing them, they don't seem to follow the laws. For instance, the comptroller auditor general did an audit to check how many of the dams have safety cells, and almost none of the dams were, dam authorities were following the safety cell advisories and mechanisms, had no mechanisms in place for safety related concerns.